the access to selective services under limitation for free for every month for 1 year, right? Whereas when we sign up on Azure, we get $200 of credits that we have to exhaust within 1 month. And then in GCP, we get $300 of credit that we can exhaust in the entire year as well. So there are no selective services offered for free for a given time period. They only give us credits that can be used for adjustment against the bill. Whereas in AWS, we get the access to selective services that we can use for free in a given month. So let me share this now in order to see what are different services available under free tier. Let me share this long here as AWS free tier. So you can refer to this link here, guys. We'll be getting the complete information, okay, and what are free tier services available. So if you scroll down, we can see they are here. We can see which services are free for 12 months, which are always free, which are based on trial, and again the category of services available. And in here we can see what is the limitation of the service. For example, let's say if we talk about EC2, then EC2 is offered at 750 hours of usage. That means if we are deploying one server, right? Now, any idea anyone how we are getting 750 hours of monthly usage? Any idea anyone? How many hours we do have in a given month? Everyone? In a given month of 30 days, how many hours do we have in total? In 30 days. How many hours do we have? We have 24 hours in a single day multiplied by 30. That will give us 720 hours. Absolutely. It will give us 720 hours. And if we divide 720 hours, then here we are still getting 30 hours extra. We are getting 30 hours extra. Even if we keep the month at 31 days, still we are getting 6 hours of extra, correct? That means here, if we now when we say when we are getting 750 hours, that means if we are deployed one instance or one server here, and suppose if one server has been running, if we are deploying one server and that server has been up and running for 24/7, then it will consume 720 hours in a given month, right? That means a single instance can be used free of cost, but if we deploy if we deploy two instances here, then the entire cost will also be double. That means it will be 1440. That means here we have to pay only for 1440 minus 750 hours that we have consumed in a given month. That means we get 750 hours of total EC2 usages. That means if we are deploying only one instance, then that can be free. If we are deploying multiple instances, then these are going to be a paid service offered by AWS. All right. Now, and once we log in, once we have the account created, we can log into the console. So let's log in into our dummy account here. Let's open this up in your window. Now, once we are logged into the console here we can simply open up EC2. Now, this is the entire console. We can see this is the entire dashboard that we will be looking at as a part of entire AWS interface. So this is the entire dashboard that we will be getting the access to once we sign up for the free tier account. And in here we have different services for computation, for containers, storage, database, and other services. Now, if we talk about a simple storage service such as S3, if we talk about simple storage service such as S3, then here we can see here we have S3 here, correct? And in S3, now S3 is what? S3 is a simple storage service which we can use like a Google Drive. Like we have a Google Drive. If you want to store any kind of documents here, then we can easily do that as a part of storage service offered in S3, right? And here in S3, here we have two main core components that we have to discuss. And Manjusha, so what do we use in AWS to deploy static websites? It's S3 buckets or EC2. If we want to deploy static website, then we can use S3 bucket here. Manjusha, is it clear now? All right, so here and here we can now, if we want looking to deploy any website on top of S3, we can click on create bucket. And here we can choose now. Here we have two concepts. Here we have buckets, and then we have container, and then we have objects. So buckets are same like partition. For example, if until and unless we create partitions on a drive, we won't be able to store anything inside it. Correct? So same way here we also have in AWS here we have the concept of containers. So here we can say the containers ourselves are called as buckets. So here we have to create a container first by the name of bucket, and then we can then all the objects. That means suppose if we want to store audio files, video files, music clips, static HTML pages, or any kind of content, then those are referred as objects inside it. So here we have a bucket, and then we have multiple objects stored inside it. We have multiple objects stored inside it, right? So here, and the same concept as applied to the buckets here. So as soon as we have the bucket created, and then it all depends upon us how we want to store it. If you want to create multiple subfolders, or if you want, we can store the objects directly as well. We can do that. So for example, here we can choose a bucket name. Let's name it the bucket as Edireka 11. And then as we had discussed in the beginning, we have to always deploy the services in a region closer to our users. So for example, we know that our users will be, our majority of the users will be in North Virginia. So we can choose North Virginia as a main region. And if you want to allow, if you are looking to share some files globally, or you can say publicly, then we can unblock this option which says block all public access. If we want to share some of the files with the public, if we want to get a shareable link, then we can unblock this access. And now we can click on create bucket. And now once we have the bucket created, so now for example, let's say we have the bucket created by the name of Educat 11. So we can open it up. And once we have the bucket created, then we can start uploading objects inside it. So once we have the bucket created, now once we have the containers, once we create the containers, it depends upon us. If we want to start loading files directly, or if we want to store them in logical order by creating multiple subfolders. So for example, same way we can do that on our S3 bucket. We can create a folder. For example, suppose we want to name the folder for images, we can create a separate folder for images. If you are storing some other files for it, again we can create another folder and store it accordingly. For example, let's suppose here we are trying to host a static website. We can go for CSS and then we can save it up. And same way, suppose if we want to add objects directly here, we can click on upload. Here we can click on add files. For example, let's say here we are planning to add some static HTML pages. So let's say if we have some dummy pages already available with us. So for example, here we have some dummy pages with us. Suppose here we have these dummy pages for our static website. Here. So we can upload these. We can select multiple objects, click on next. We can choose if we can define now these components for managing users, for defining AWS account ownership, and for classes that we are going to discuss step by step. And now we can click on upload. And once we upload it, as you can see, currently we have all the files being uploaded, right? And suppose now if we want to upload any of the given files, suppose let's say if we want to upload one of the files such as home, let's upload that. As you can see here, we have successfully created the entire bucket, and now we have all the objects uploaded here. Now if you want to open up any file, for example, let's say here we have home.html, right? And now if you want to share this file with anyone, we can click on make public, and then we can get the URL here. And again, if we open this URL in the browser, we can see this page that we have currently enabled and uploaded on top of S3 bucket.